gonna look at most painful construction deaths ever. Like trapped or fell inside. What the fuck? The thumbnail already got me traumatized. Okay,
What's your step? Across.
Remember, get all praise. They're watching people die.
Across the United States are large industrial iron foundries that use molten iron to produce things like engine blocks, frames.
You don't want to do it. That's why I tell you to go to school. You don't want to have to work in a job like that. Because people that work in jobs like that usually hate their life. And they're risking their life every day.
And structural components for cars and buildings. At the Caterpillar Mapleton Foundry in Illinois, molten iron is melted at nearly 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit, a heat hotter than lava and hot enough to obliterate human flesh in an instant. For the workers at this factory, the foundry floor is a place where one wrong step means certain doom, so it's of utmost importance that each crew member moves with caution 100% of the time. On June 2nd, a 39-year-old man would be working his 5th day at his new job. He was tasked with retrieving a sample of molten iron for testing. He spun down a giant metal wheel that caused the molten iron to pour out of the vat.
you know he would be dumb as shit. He would go, okay, Colt.
Afterwards, he leaned over the boiling hot iron. He got close, like really, really close. And then liquid molten iron popped and exploded.
Oh!
I'm kidding. He successfully retrieved his sample of iron and returned back to his manager. Unluckily, however, he'd somehow slip on the stage and partially fall back into the molten vat of iron.
Oh!
He escaped, but it was impossible. Half of his body was in, half of it was out. And before you know it, in an instant, he was consumed.
Hey, you're 50-50 chance half of your body is paralyzed, half of your body is burned.
By the roaring orange abyss. Witnesses described what happened as beyond comprehension. He passed away instantly, but not all of him was consumed. Part of his body remained on the steel deck.
That is the most gruesome shit I ever seen. That makes my eyes water. Holy shit. My eyes are tearing up just from that. Why? It's a sketch of half a body. The bones sticking out and everything.
For the coroner to retrieve. Emergency crews rushed in, but it was already way too late. There was no saving him. The foundry quickly shut down, investigations were launched, and then questions arose. How could a man with so little training be placed so close to one of the most dangerous areas of the factory? It was literally his 5th day on the job. For his colleagues, it was not the first time they'd seen such horror. Just a year earlier, another worker had passed away at the same plant after a similar fall. And now, yet again, a worker's life had been cut short in the most violent way imaginable. In factories like these, safety isn't just a guideline, it's survival. When molten metal waits beneath your feet, there's no second chance. One misstep and you're gone in an instant. The cable incident. It was just after noon at the Whitworth sawmill in East Texas. The air was filled with the sound of machines, the smell of fresh-cut pine.
Uh-oh, no. Wood.
And the heat of men working hard to keep the mill alive. But inside, 4 men were locked in a struggle with a jammed wood chip machine. To free it, they turned to the heavy steel cable that wound its way around the gears.
Oh no.
They pulled, adjusted, and worked the line, hoping to break the machine loose. And then, in an instant, disaster struck. After working the cable for what felt like forever, they had stretched it out to the point that it extended itself like a bow and tightened back on one of the men. Upon pulling the cable and stretching it back out again to free the man, it finally... The stored energy released with the speed of a bullet and the force of a guillotine. It whipped across the work area with deadly precision, striking all 5 men at once. The impact was catastrophic. 4 of the 5 were decapitated instantly. Lucky. He was thrown away to the side, and the bones in his leg got shattered, but thankfully his life was spared. For the man who witnessed it, the scene was indescribable.
Damien? Yay,
One
first
moment,
try.
their co-workers were fighting with
I don't like it though.
some stupid
Change the
jammed
name.
machine. The next second, the floor was silent, and each of their bodies stood upright in their same positions, with a crucial detail missing. The ground was littered with helmets, sawdust,
You what I said to you? You don't like you yelling, but you don't need to yell. Ooh. 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 Ooh.
If that gets out of context, I swear to fucking God.
and bodies. When EMTs arrived at the scene, they were obviously only able to save the man with the injured leg. The sleeve incident. In a cavernous factory in Russia, cameras were quietly watching it.
I thought I was the alarm.
Scene that would later horrify the world. On the floor stood a massive horizontal lathe. The machine was giant, and its steel cylinder was rotating with an unstoppable force. It was a machine built to carve through metal itself. A Russian man tasked with running the machinery froze upon seeing it. For a couple of moments, he would just squint deeply at the machine, closely inspecting it. His posture was casual, and then from casual, it grew curious. Although it's not entirely clear what it was, the man noticed something wrong with the machine, but after inspecting it, he went about his business. And then he came back because his curiosity got the best of him. Something was obviously wrong with the machine, so he went in for another look. It was then that he realized that he had been inspecting the wrong thing all along. His gaze shifted from the machine to the ceiling above it, and he was astonished with what he saw. He was right. There was a bit of a leak dripping down from the ceiling onto the machine. A sigh of relief came from the man as he became relieved that he had figured out the issue. As he began leaving to retrieve items to fix the leak, he'd quickly realize another, more concerning issue. His sleeve was stuck, and just like that, in a heartbeat, everything changed. The man was yanked into the spinning machine, his body slammed between the cylinder and the base, whipping around with such force that it looked like a rag doll in the grip of a hurricane. The lathe spun faster and faster. First his shoes would fly off, then pieces of his flesh and chunks from his limbs.
Oh!
He was turned into a mist. The camera captured it all. There was no time for rescue or hope of survival. Moments later, another worker in full protective gear entered from the side. He froze at the sight he saw. Red trails, shredded remains, and a stained room. He lifted his hands in complete frustration, then dropped them in despair. The unfiltered camera footage spread across the internet, shocking millions before being digitally wiped away. Safety experts pointed out the obvious in this case. Don't wear loose clothing around machines like these, and always keep a safe distance between them. The roller incident. It was just after noon at a factory in the Saint Laurent borough of Montreal. The facility specialized in recycling plastic. Massive machines churned endlessly, crushing and shaping materials with unstoppable force. For workers, the rhythm of the rollers was just another part of the day. Clock in, crush and churn, go to sleep, repeat. Except for this day. On August 8th, 2016, at around 12:15 p.m., a 56-year-old employee noticed a piece of plastic jammed in the roller machine. Determined to keep the line and the rhythm of his job moving, he climbed up a ladder and reached in to pull it free. As you could guess, while trying to perform this extremely dangerous task, the rollers would pinch his finger. He'd scream in pain and try to yank it out, but in a split second, his hand was caught and effectively crushed. Unfortunately, that wouldn't even be the worst part. The rollers dragged him in, pulling his body into the unforgiving gear crushing machine.
Oh no!
Then his arm, then his head, and then his chest.
Oh God!
He became wedged into the entry space of 12 centimeters before co-workers rushed to stop the machine. But by the time it halted, his body sat deeply jammed in between a space no bigger than a clenched fist. Insanely enough, however, he was actually pulled out of the machine alive. Despite his body being crushed and broken beyond repair, emergency responders rushed him to the hospital in critical condition, but there really wasn't much doctors could do. The man was literally flattened, so sadly, he succumbed to his injuries shortly after. Behind every phone, car, or laptop you use, there is a person. A person who spends anywhere from 8 to 16 hours a day working tirelessly in a factory full of dangerous equipment to grant you these luxuries you have. Life is delicate and quick. It can be here 1 second and gone the next. So, no matter how small, always be grateful for the good you have. Don't take any of it for granted. Tell your parents, siblings, and friends you love them. And as usual, have a happy day.
Ew, cats, I hate them. Anyways, yeah. What the fuck was that video? I hated that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I hope you don't get fucking crushed by a steamroller.